Alright, so I've tried to record this shit 3 times. Actually, 2 times. This is the 3rd attempt. So, whatever's against me is not winning, because we're going to get this shit done. This is going to be a quick one, I hope. I know the other ones have been like over 10 minutes. I'm trying not to do 10-minute plus videos, because who the fuck's got time for that? But that being said, I know I said that my next video was going to be about Alien Romulus trailer discussion, which is still happening, just not today, because last night I went and I saw a film that I was very, 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 very excited about. It's called Late Night with the Devil. It is incredible. That's all I gotta say. So, if you've heard about this film, you've probably heard about it from the articles about the early screenings. I think it made its rounds at film festivals. It's winning everyone over, which is, when a horror movie wins, I win. We all win. We love to see it. I think the directors are like a brother duo pair. I looked up their filmography. Nothing I've ever seen. It seems like most of it has been like very low budget. I don't think I've even recalled any of it on streaming anywhere. So that being said, this seems to be their big sort of like breakout film, and rightfully so. Late Night with the Devil is fantastic. When it comes to horror films, I'm very passionate about them. I don't get scared easily. I don't scare easily. But I, which is why I'm always looking for the next horror high, right? The next high. I think if you guys saw my like last video about The Crow, I mentioned how The Exorcist is my favorite film of all time / horror film of all time. And the reason that is because it is a film with impeccable pacing. It's a drama first. It sets the rules at the very start that this is our world. This is a normal world. This is this is a world with real problems. It presents itself as a drama before the horror elements come in. And I think when a film does that, the way that this film did, The Exorcist, and the way that Hereditary is another one that literally mirrors The Exorcist's pacing, where that film is about grief. It's a drama. It's a family drama before it leans into the horror. And I think those two films are effective because the rules of this world are very grounded in reality, or grounded in emotion, depth. Where in The Exorcist, it's grounded in, skepticism and disbelief. And so when you see these horrific things happen, it goes against those rules of this, the rules that have been set at the very beginning, in a very grounded and practical way. So those films are phenomenal. But, The Exorcist being, for me, the iconic masterclass example of how to make a proper horror film. Which is to say, focus on the drama first and let it play and lean into the horror later, when you already care about the characters. So when I lean into horror, it's because I'm looking for the next high. I want to get freaked the fuck out. I want to be losing sleep because something got under my skin. That's the power of filmmaking, the power of writing. Like, that's what we're chasing. So I rarely get that fear. But I enjoy a horror film for its atmosphere, its score, its story, its consequence. And I think that in itself is enough to discomfort me. And so I chase the discomfort, not so much the fear. For example, Sinister is a great example of a film that is slow, has perfect, horrific imagery. It's a mystery first, then leads into the horror. The score is insane, and it's just it's a great example of that kind of film that I'm searching for. So when I saw Late Night for the Devil, I literally, at the end of it, said out loud, this is one of the best horror films I've seen in the last decade. And that's for very special circumstances. The film is in the 70s, so it adopts the aesthetic, the ratio, the grain of a 70s talk show. It's there. The film breaks the fourth wall towards the third act, because of that televised element where you, as the viewer, are being directly referenced to, because you are while there is a studio audience watching all this, you are in fact the audience at home. And this is directly, spoiler, because I'm going to spoil a lot, but it's just because I'm so excited, and all 7 of you, it's not the whole world. So, but there is an element of this film where the fourth wall is being broken and you're being directly spoken to. because it plays, you're watching plays into what's happening in this film, and it's excellent. And I've yet to see a horror film before this ever break the fourth wall in that manner. And I've seen a lot of horror films, and I just can't recall a single one that has done this in the way that this has done this in the horror genre. I'm sure there's probably in one hand an amount, but I've yet to see it. So for me, this is a first, a horror film that's leaned into that. But the film's concept about a talk show host, the film is shot as if, you know, you are watching this episode with behind the scenes footage. But most of it, 70% of it, is shot as if you are, you know, watching from home. So there's this sort of play happening in front of you, no different than like watching Jimmy Fallon or something like that, right? And Jack Delroy, the main character, who's played by David Dastmalchian, I'm butchering his last name, but you've seen him probably in like Dark Knight Rises. He had a small role. He had a small role in Oppenheimer. He's never played a leading man, so it was so nice to see him. He also always plays the creep. It was nice to see him play a charming, handsome, outspoken show host. That was really different, and man, he's electric. I absolutely loved him, and he carried, when the horror wasn't happening, it was him just being a talk show host. I was like, he's dropping the funny lines, he's conversing with the audience. Like, it was very believable. He really did a good job. Along with everyone else, there's a lot of colorful characters throughout the film. But to speak on the premise, the idea is that he's a talk show host. He's always number two. He's never been number one. He suffered a tragedy in his life, so he took a break from television, came back with an idea. On Halloween night, he decides to do a horror-focused show. And so he's bringing on all these colorful characters, people who deal in the parapsychology, paranormal, paranatural side of life. A magician, a man who says he hears the voices of the dead and can communicate with them, and they all have a part in this play to play within the show's focus, the show's subject. So they'll have a role to play in this episode. One of them is a skeptic. He's the magician, the guy who knows all the tricks. And so he's a skeptic, even though he makes money off of illusion, which I thought was super interesting and a really cool route for a film that could have easily just played up the horror. But the film has a way of playing with the element of skepticism. It is a huge part of the film. There's one character who's there just to shit on everyone who believes in the paranormal, the paranatural, the parapsychology of everything. And amidst all this, the main antagonist of the film is a little girl who survived a cult in her youth, who is now being taken care of by a therapist / caretaker / guardian. And they come on the show, and this is where all hell breaks loose, because essentially Jack Delroy wants to have proof of this on television. He believes that if everyone sees this, this show will take off. It will be number one. And that's where all hell breaks loose. I don't want to spoil too much, because I know that the film lives on all the little bits, surprises, twists and turns, different formats, the way that the film is edited. There's so much variety in this one narrative, the way that it's being told, the way that it breaks the fourth wall, the way that it takes influences from different 70s horror films and not only goes, hey, this is what we're influenced by, but says, hey, we're going to add our touch. It's not a blatant reflection of what's come before. It's in fact trying to respect while also trying to create something original within what's already existed, right? Because there's nothing by nature that is truly original. But this film is definitely trying, and I think that in itself, when everything culminates, it is in fact an original concept with original ideas, and I absolutely loved it. There are elements of horror and unsettling visuals here that genuinely work. The film does a lot with the static. When the broadcast kind of cuts out, you start seeing things in the static. The film does a lot with lighting. The film does a lot with makeup and practical effects. There's one part in particular, which is my favorite part of the film, and is the one part of the film, the whole film is unsettling, but it is the one part of the film that, to right now, I've taken with me as one of those like one of those essential horror scenes you have to watch. If you're not going to watch the whole movie, just put it in to watch this scene. And it's a scene where Jack Delroy is actually confronting the demon in front of the cameras, and she's tied down. And that scene was completely wholly unsettling, because if you've seen any other Exorcist movies in the last 20 years, most of it relies on special effects. Everything from the eyes, everything from the voice, the distortion sounds so comical. And this film, they don't do that. The voice distortion sounds genuinely unsettling. It sounds like there's a voice within a body. It's terrifying. And I don't think anything's ever come close to Regan's voice in the original Exorcist. And it's really interesting how they came up with that voice, if you know the history of that film. The actress that was doing it, she like smoked and drank after like not doing it for years, just to like destroy her vocal cords, and then they distorted in post, which is insane. This isn't anywhere near as terrifying, but it is, in comparison to everything else outside of The Exorcist, is unsettling. And the practical effects of the girl as she's being possessed by the devil is so fucking good. So the thing that a lot of Exorcist films miss out on, or a lot of demonic possession films kind of miss the mark on, is this idea that the face has got to look super creepy and like and super ugly. And the reason that Regan's makeup in The Exorcist worked was because she looked like a victim of demonic possession. She looked like the bruising, the scarring, all that was happening because the demon, Pazuzu, was giving way with her body, abusing it, violating it, destroying it from the inside. She looked like a corpse. That's why it's creepy. Not just because, oh, look at the deep. No. This film implemented that level of practicality to the makeup, and it looked like it wasn't as excessive, but it was still enough to unsettle me. It was that like, oh, whatever's inside her doesn't like the body. It thinks it's its playground, and it's just fucking with her. And it worked really well, and I thought that was excellent. And the film works in 3 really good acts. The first one is just presenting all the characters and the fun. The middle one is where the skepticism starts coming into play. There's a really excellent scene where the magician tries to disprove something that happened in the first act of the show, so he tries to hypnotize the studio audience and hypnotize us. The way that comes across on film later, it's almost as if the audience in the movie theater was really hypnotized. It's genius. The movie is absolute fucking genius. I mean, I praise it on that scene alone. And then the third act, it loses its fucking mind. And where usually any other film would have completely fucked this third act, this element of the film up, this film only goes further into how fucking good could this get. It just goes in and it goes full bore and it commits, and it's through that commitment that its complete utter fucking lunacy is sold to me. This is a complete horror package with the practical effects, the humor, the characters, and the story. There's a lot of background story that I didn't get into that has to do with what would be like the Hollywood cult, you know, the Illuminati, Bohemian Grove. There's a lot of references to that, and that's a huge part of the narrative and what happens later on. The set itself is phenomenal, and even the distinction between like the behind the scenes footage, which is shot in black and white, it's monochromatic, but then obviously the episode itself is in color whenever they're actively filming. I thought it was a great distinction in just sort of separating these two different faces of this one story that is happening. And I just think that the film is full of detail, even just the costume design and the music, its presentation, its commercial breaks. There's just so much going on there's so much going on in this film that it's hard not to praise it just for its mere balls. I'm a big fan of this film, a big fan. If you love cults, if you like demonic possession, if you like dark comedies, if you like something that is just bonkers and weird and creepy and unsettling, this is the film to watch. This is the film to beat. And that being said, there's a lot of horror films coming out later this year. We still have the film Tear It. We've got Longlegs, I believe it's called, that has a Nicolas Cage playing a serial killer, which the marketing material for that has been amazing. We still got Immaculate, which comes out this weekend. I can't wait to review that. The First Omen. We got another film called Cocoon. We got Sting coming out. It's a good time to be a horror fan. I'm so excited. I'm just worried we won't have anything left for October. It's really weird that this would have been a great Halloween film, but neither here nor there. That is it. Thank you for watching this video. Like, subscribe. You know the deal, and I will see you on the next one.